All right, so just a quick catch up. You might already know this all. For the folks I can see, I think most of y'all probably know this already. We're gonna talk about how we got here, the ordinance itself, the hurdles we're expecting, where we currently stand politically, and what's next, and how we can make stuff happen. Right. So first of all, right, the group itself was founded back in 2022, with the goal of making like a safe network of bikeable streets in Chicago. This I got involved, I think, in 2023, coming in early 2023 around like Jamapalooza. I know some other folks got around in 2023 and 24 as well. We did a lot of bike organizing around the runoff elections. We found ourselves coming out of the elections 2023 with this weird moment of like, cool, we got a bunch of bike-friendly people elected. That's cool. So when does the grid happen though? Be nice if the grid happened. Someone gonna make the grid happen, and then 2024 we're like, ah, crap. I guess we have to make the grid happen. Which brings us to now, aka making the grid happen. Right? That being said, you're like, bro, but Chris, what even is the grid? Let's talk about it. The bike grid, it represents the goal of having 10% of city roads be bike and pedestrian friendly, which seems like a really manageable thing, right? One of my favorite bits about our organization is that push is really coherent. It's a really simple message. It's really, even people I know that are not bike people or not even bike friendly, you're like, yeah, bro, I'm not asking for every street. I just want 10% of them. They're like, oh, 10% of them. That sounds totally reasonable. I'm like, yeah, it's totally reasonable. What are you talking about? What this looks like in practice, right, is 450 miles of speed softened residential side roads that feature traffic calming measures, pedestrian measures, if it is an arterial road, protected cycle lanes, with the goal of making a network of safe, rideable, walkable streets across Chicago. Not only is this an affordable thing for us to do, it's easy, it doesn't require lots of enforcement. It makes it so that the city can build and engineer a city that is safer for everybody. Other cities have done it, we can do the same thing. It's a very reasonable ask to make. Nick, do you want to say a few words about the ordinance?
Totally. Yeah. So as the slide outlines, we kind of tackled the ordinance in two parts. So part one actually creates that network of safe streets, which we are referring to as the grid. And the second makes some minimal adjustments and some additions to the municipal code that already exists. It depends on the statute, but sometimes it hasn't been updated since the 90s. Sometimes that's the 2010s. And just the city's landscape has changed, and we just want to amend the code to sort of better reflect that. So, part one, which is the actual network creation. So, the idea of the grid is that we're going to look at the city in half mile increments and ask CDOT to install that speed softening, that infrastructure that Chris mentioned to meet X amount of points in our system. So, generally, the more a piece of infrastructure costs, the more points it's worth. Some highlights here are raised crosswalks, curb extensions, median slash turn diverters, and then we were able to further enhance that by removing and adding curb cuts, both for micro mobility and to sort of clean up old industrial areas that don't need these curb cuts, repair stations for your bike, ideally spaced so that no matter where you're in the city, you are able to get yourself back up and going, a state of good repair and ADA requirements, and then things that benefit the whole city, even if you are not sort of newer to biking, which is a community bike share, which can include anything from e-bikes to cargo bikes to your what I'm going to dub acoustic bikes. And then, as I talked about earlier, we're sort of cleaning up some of the municipal code that just hasn't been updated in a while. So there's a mix of new things, conforming changes, and then just a bit of micro adjustments. So example of a new idea happens to be like an EMS e-bike response unit. So that's something that you see over in Cork, Ireland. It's been really helpful as they host large events across the city where ambulances can't get easy access. I think a good example of that would be on St. Patrick's Day here in the city. We're either doing simple things like updating the definition of what a bicycle is. In this case, it happens to be reflecting what the state code currently says. We're doing crash reporting standards. There's a pretty high threshold currently, and to sort of collect better data, we can update when a crash has to be reported so we get a better understanding of where the infrastructure is and isn't working. Another example, looking at like what Lime does to provide with their scooters. I think sometimes you see three people up on a scooter and not always perform or driving to the rules of the road. So it's a safety improvement we can make by asking them as part of their contract with the city to provide helmets, which can be optionally used, but are there if you shall want them. Again, other simple things like moving dumpsters away, moving propeds away, which are very loud and terrible for the environment. Um, and then creating maximizing wait lists. And then so one of the last things that I'll mention here is creating a dedicated delivery and drop off spots to prevent double parking, which is an issue that affects anybody who wants to use the public way, whether you're driving, biking, pick your pair of wheels, walking around the city. So it's examples like that.
So like in short, right, like we want to fix all of the bike language we have in our current legal system and build the grid, right? That being said, there are a few like institutional hurdles that we are facing, right? The first and the biggest of these is CDOT, the Chicago Department of Transportation. We love a lot of the folks at CDOT. We really respect a lot of the folks at CDOT and the work they do. And that being said, one of the big challenges we're going to encounter with our ordinance is getting CDOT's go ahead. This isn't something that's required, but is something that will be really essential in making this a smoother process for us. One of the acts, if you come with us, as we're going to get to later on, to any of these ordinance meetings we're having, I guarantee you one of the questions they'll get asked is, I guarantee one of the questions you'll get asked is, what is CDOT's position on this? CDOT can come out in favor, be neutral, or be opposed to our bill, as well as lobby the mayor or lobby internally behind the scenes to make it or not make it happen. They can make our life easy, medium, or hard, depending on their stance on our legislation. There's lots of reasons that they might be opposed to it because it makes them do more things. There's also lots of reasons they might love it because it simplifies a lot of their processes for them, gives them more ability and flexibility to do stuff, gives them better credibility on like making work happen. We're trying to find ways to like make their lives easier in our bill as well, right? So there's lots of reasons they might support it and lots of reasons they might oppose it. If they come out against it, it does not mean that our bill is impossible to pass. Lots of bills get passed over the objections of city departments, but it makes it a lot harder, right? Because we have to have credible reasons why CDOT is wrong and why we should do it anyway. The second thing, right, is we have to deal with is attention. Oh, right? One, like planning group wise, like we'll talk about later, requires a lot of work. It's good for community building, but like it takes a lot of effort to actually make it happen in the first place. On top of that, city budget season is coming in the fall and will lead to a ton of fights in the city council, especially given that this year's budget cycle is noticeably going to be one of the hardest pitches that we've faced in a while. And lastly, right, is like there's tons of issues fighting for our attention with ice on our streets right now, the transit cliff coming up. We are fighting for the attention of aldermen in a lot of ways. This is anyone that's done like bike lobbying on the state-wide level knows that like a lot of our legislatures in the Democratic caucus in the state are down with our bills, but like we need to get their attention enough to remember that they need to actually pass this thing, right? And that's kind of the work on us and work on our champions to actually pull things off. The good example of the transit fiscal cliff is this meeting we're having right now. There's another meeting Better Street Chicago is having, and we love the work they're doing to help fight for transit. So we need to make sure that our bill maintains the attention of our aldermen, the attention of our electeds, and the attention of our supporters. And this is where you all come in, right? Is that right now this has been kind of there's like the 5 or 6 or 7 of us that have been trying to pull this together, and we would really love more help to make this happen. If you're in any of the wards that are on our list or nearby, we'd love to put on an event, right? You don't have to be the one to lead the ride, but if you know folks in a ward that would be helpful, we'd love to help make that happen, right? So whether it's you or let's say it's someone else, right? Or let's say that you have a friend that lives in Gilbert Villegas' ward or someone that lives in Monique Scott's ward and they would be interested in putting on a ride, let us know. We'd be happy to like engage with them, right? The second one, right, is plan a meeting with your local alderman. Unless they're one of our hardcore, already supportive alders, it would be down to go. It's still important to apply the pressure as a constituent. Go in, planning a meeting with some of your friends. Even if you're new to the grid, we are happy to help have one of the folks that knows the ordinance really well come to the meeting, as well as some other folks to help make sure that alderman is on board. And of course, help spread the word. This is where like we would love like we need help in just about everything. Right? Want to table at a community event? Got a cool idea for a video? Want to know of an organization we should partner with? If you have connections with those folks already, like let us know. We would love to make this happen. Chicago, if anything, is a city run on people knowing other people. Other than that, again, thank you all so much for coming, and have a good evening.